see. What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Happy Sunday night, to everyone. Um, don't plan on keeping y'all here too long tonight, man. Um, I do got some things I want to talk about. First of all, first and foremost, for anything, y'all know the typical drill. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the post notification bell so you'll know whenever I put out any new content. Um, Hitting that like button, that does help me out in the algorithm. So, yeah, if you would like to do that, support is greatly appreciated. However you show it, man. So needless to say, we got a pretty eventful day coming up tomorrow here in Falcons country. As Raheem Morris will officially be introduced as the next head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Raheem Morris will have his introductory press conference tomorrow, February 5th. There's something else that is obviously associated with this franchise on February 5th that I prefer not to talk about. So I'm glad that they're trying to erase that with this and but anyways, with that being said, tomorrow, February 5th at 2:00 live from Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So he will officially be introduced as the Falcons' next head coach. And obviously they will have the press conference where he comes up, he speaks, he's introduced, and he lays out his vision for what he wants in this football team, how he wants this football team built. Obviously not going to give us everything, not every little snippet, but just a general view and idea of how they want this football team to be built. It is worth noting that pretty much his entire staff has been filled out, basically. I think there might only be one position left that hasn't been filled out, which is outside linebackers coach, I want to say, which is very honestly, that's one of the automatic changes you see. Frank Bush went to Tennessee, but they wrote down they're going to have an inside and an outside linebackers coach. So obviously, there is a change there, but overall, definitely it's, having his, staff pretty much filled out, pretty much complete, definitely a benefit to him. So obviously the press conference tomorrow, everyone's going to, talk about, obviously him being introduced as head coach. You're going to have that first, official look of him at the press conference. He'll probably have his nice suit on, be there with his family, take pictures, do his first media rounds, talk to the media, talk to D-Led and all those guys and gals out there that, are at all the typical press scrums for the Falcons. So, ultimately, there is some stuff that when watching this press conference tomorrow, I do think you should look out for. And, it did because ultimately, Raheem Morris, there's no denying that, he's a complete 180 from Arthur Smith in terms of the energy he brings, the vibe he's going to give off to the media. First of all, Raheem is not going to be like Arthur Smith. Raheem's going to welcome the media. He's going to act friendly with them. I can already tell you, he's going to welcome the media, which, to be honest, I really don't know how. I've never, been big about my coaches, going and, trying to kiss ass to the media. I've never been that. And that was honestly, a lot of people got on Arthur Smith's ass about trying to be all snobbish with the media. I didn't have a damn problem with it. The only issue is you got to win. And he didn't do that. And that's why he's no longer here. With that being said, you have to go ahead and look at a couple key things, which is number one, Raheem Morris was obviously on Dan Quinn's staff, every single year. He came in here with Dan Quinn, and, from all the people, that came here, you left, in that, 5-year span of Dan Quinn being here, Raheem Morris, you have to honestly look at is Dan Quinn's right-hand man through a lot of it. He was his assistant head coach. He had him working on both sides of the ball. That was his guy. That was, number two in that locker room, in that facility with Dan Quinn here. So even though obviously, yes, I'm very excited for Raheem. I think Raheem, the 3 years that he's had in LA has definitely helped him, with his experience. And I'm gonna, I'm gonna give him a chance. I'm no doubt gonna do that. And I think this is the best situation Raheem Morris has maybe ever had coaching, other than obviously with the Rams. It's definitely better than his first go around with Tampa, where he had to, basically be the guy to try to pick up the pieces after John Gruden left in Tampa. And obviously, when you look at it, it was a disaster, but still there were many parts of that. First of all, he was 32 years old when he got that job. And he was still able to get a 10-win season out of that Tampa team, is what I think not a lot of people talk about. What's going on, Jerry? I see you in there, man. So obviously there's that. Raheem Morris, ever since he has, not left Tampa, he has, been in Washington when Mike Shanahan was the head coach, and Kyle Shanahan was there. Obviously, he spent time here in Atlanta, and he's been at the Rams. And I think that him being at the Rams, him being the defensive coordinator, him really being able to understand a winning pedigree and what it's like, you would definitely like to see, has benefited him, has, wear it off on him. Now, and granted, Sean McVay is one of those guys, where he, Sean McVay, he'll be friendly with the press. He welcomes the press in, but at the end of the day, Sean McVay is a damn good coach. He knows what he's doing, and he knows how to put together a good football team, a disciplined football team. And, Raheem Morris is not completely like Dan Quinn. I understand that. Raheem can get on somebody's ass if he has to. But the thing is, whereas I really feel like Dan Quinn, he didn't want to. I feel like with Dan Quinn, it was more so he was trying to cater to those players, whereas Raheem is already going in there and there's a better connection with those players. But still, you cannot, just completely look over the fact, what, weren't you Dan Quinn's right-hand man here? And I'm going to go ahead and say this. He's going to get up at that press conference tomorrow, and listen, I'm sure he won't. I mean, he's not going to say anything stupid. I mean, Raheem knows, he's a pretty well talker, when talking to the media and all that. And, he's not going to go up there and say anything stupid. What I do not want to hear is, I don't want to hear a damn thing about no brotherhood. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I do not want to hear anything about a brotherhood because, again, weren't you Dan Quinn's right-hand man in Atlanta? Weren't you second in line? Yeah, that's the reason why you got that interim job. You were pretty much second in line. You were the assistant head coach. So even though, yes, Dan Quinn was obviously the lead guy in there, weren't you obviously one of those guys that heavily contributed to that brotherhood? And we know where the brotherhood went and how it basically set us back. It wasn't the only thing that set us back. Obviously, poor management of the cap set us back as well. But this team had to have really after that, one of the big reasons we went to Arthur Smith was we really wanted a culture change. And obviously, what Arthur Smith was trying to do at the end of the day, it didn't work out because Arthur Smith, his Arthur Smith got in the way of Arthur Smith. And that's why, now we're back at Raheem. And there's no denying that Raheem definitely deserves this job. And you got to give the man a chance, because I think if you give him a chance overall, he can do a good job. And, I have no doubt about that. But I don't want to hear anything about a brotherhood. Listen, being under a coach like Sean McVay and being in that LA organization, yes, it should do you great dividends. Show it. Don't come in here tomorrow talking about no brotherhood. Don't come in here with the Dan Quinn mechanism. Do not do it. Don't come in here talking about a brotherhood, fighting for each other. Obviously, football is a team sport. You're going to war with those guys. We know it. We don't need to hear all that brotherhood talk. We don't need to hear about establishing no damn brotherhood here. I do not want to hear that word. If I hear that word tomorrow, I'm not going to lie. It ain't going to make me very happy. Another thing I don't want to hear is I don't want to hear no damn fast and physical bullshit. I do not want to hear anything about being fast and physical, because we saw where that shit got us with Dan Quinn. And see, the thing with Dan Quinn, yes, it started out fabulous in the beginning. But ultimately, it crashed and burned, and it completely collapsed in on itself. And that's the thing I don't want, because, see, I'm going to tell y'all something, man. The number one thing I want to do, and I'm going to get into what I want to hear from this press conference tomorrow. The number one thing I want is I want to win. That's the number one thing I want to do. I care about winning more than anything else. Winning cures everything with me. And I want to win at the highest level. I do. What I also want to do, however, is I do want to, have that longevity. And the fact you didn't go and you didn't bring a Bill Belichick in here, which obviously, what was going to be a big gamble. Belichick's, 71, 72 years old, and listen, I'll make no bones about it. I would have fully welcomed Bill Belichick being here. But the fact you didn't get him, okay, I can accept it. You want longevity, you better get that longevity. Because, see, with the Falcons, it's been every 4 or 5 years, you're back in the cycle. You're back in this coaching cycle, trying to, it was literally just 3 years ago we were going through the same thing with Arthur Smith. The only difference was everything was over Zoom. But you were going through the same thing with Arthur Smith. The longest tenured head coach the Falcons have had was here for what? 7 years? And Mike Smith? We know how that ended. So I don't want to be in the cycle every 5 years. I want a guy that can come in here. And Raheem's only 47. I want a guy that can be here a decade plus. That's what I want. And I think Raheem could honestly be that. But he has to approach this thing right. He has to correct his mistakes. Another thing that just, I really thought about, I really don't want to hear he's calling the defense. That's another thing. Listen, Jimmy Lake, I don't know too much about the guy, even though definitely you look at that, it's going to be a lot of, what the Rams have done. And obviously Raheem's influence is going to be there. Be the CEO. Be the CEO. Look over the operations. If something don't look right, okay, then step in. But you brought your coordinators in here for a reason. Obviously Zach Robinson's going to call the plays. Let Jimmy Lake or whoever call the plays for the defense. But let Jimmy Lake do it. Do not try to get tied up like Arthur Smith did and like how you saw Dan Quinn did. And ultimately, that does hit the team. And that leads to a lot of mismanagement. And that's one of the big things. You literally saw it with when you were the underboss to the same guy who you saw got fired and you got the interim tag from. The big reason why is because, first of all, you had to hand over, those play calling duties to you twice. Because The first time he tried to do it, prove he was Superman and that he can do it all, and that was kind of an ego thing in itself with Dan Quinn. And he had to hand it over to Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich back in 2019 because it wasn't working. He had to make that change. And when he did do it, the defense looked a whole lot better. And the Falcons as a whole performed a whole lot better in the second half of that season. So ultimately, take the CEO approach. Don't let your ego get in the way of itself. Let Jimmy Lake call plays and be the head coach. That's really honestly what I want. I don't want to hear fast and physical. I don't want to hear about no brotherhood. And I would really honestly suggest that Jimmy Lake call this defense. Now, when talking about what I do want to hear, listen. He's going to come in there with a lot of energy. I have no doubt about it. He's probably going to express a lot how excited he is to be there. And how grateful he is, obviously, to Mr. Blank and, Terry Fontenot. Terry Fontenot will be at the press conference too tomorrow. I think he's speaking, actually. We'll be up there with Raheem, so we'll talk a little bit about what maybe Terry has to say. But he's going to express a lot of gratitude, and obviously he'll talk about the philosophy of a team. And I've already said what I don't want to hear fast and physical. I don't want to hear brotherhood. And you can have the energy, but I want to hear a winning demeanor. That's what I want to hear. I need to hear a winning demeanor from Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot. That's what I want expressed. That at the end of the day, yeah, I can be a very upbeat, high tempo, big personality guy. But when it's time to crack down to business, business is number one. And the business needs to be handled. And we are now going on year number 8 since we won a division title, year number 7 since we made the playoffs. And it's time to change. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I want to hear I don't want to, hear a fast and physical brotherhood or anything. I want to hear a winning demeanor. I want to hear a vision about winning, a passion of winning. That's what I want expressed. Make me want to run through a wall for you. Show that fire. Show that intensity. You can show your personality. Dan Campbell, that opening press conference, he said straight up, we're coming for your kneecaps. We're going to be the last one standing not before long. And even though, at the end of the day, last week, Detroit, it was a very disappointing loss. There's still no denying why they got there. Dan Campbell and his demeanor, he went in there and changed the culture. And I want to see Raheem come in here and do the same thing. I want him to stick by something and mean it. And they actually commit to it. And it be a winning demeanor. Because winning isn't just all, sunflowers and rainbows. Winning is actually very dirty. It can get very tough at times. And that's what I want conveyed. That's what needs to be conveyed. That is what I honestly feel like we have to have. Now, will you get that full-on, military style guy? No, because that's not who Raheem is. But I need to see someone who goes out there and actually conveys the passion for winning and not just full-on energy, actually caring about winning. And yeah, you can operate off of energy, but that isn't just all I need to see displayed. And regardless, whatever they say, actions speak louder than words. But that's why you got to give him a chance, because you got to see what he does. Because regardless of what he says tomorrow, what's done in free agency, what is done in the draft, and most importantly, That product we see out on the field tells the verdict. It's just in the press conference, we want to hear something that, okay, gets us actually pumped, gets us, and we don't want to hear no damn brotherhood and no damn fast and physical. And I think Raheem is honestly smart enough not to come in here with that bullshit. I think he knows we don't need that shit around here. But listen, regardless of what's said in that press conference tomorrow, actions speak louder than words. That's why we got to give him a chance. Terry Fontenot will also, I mentioned it earlier, also be at the press conference tomorrow. I think he might even be speaking, so it's definitely going to be interesting. I guarantee you they'll probably ask him why he wasn't at that press conference of a few weeks ago. I guarantee you they're going to ask him. And he'll probably give, there were obviously a lot of moving. I mean, they'll tell him what to go up and say for that. He isn't going to spill the whole damn truth about it. We know what the truth was and what the problem was. Apparently, the problem, has been moved over to, Arthur Blank's other sports franchise, which I say, let him go and mess up Atlanta United. Let him go and do it. And, I'll feel for all the United fans out there, but we needed him the fuck out of Flowery Branch. But, I guarantee you they'll probably have Terry, go up there and just say, well, there were obviously a lot of moving pieces. And, obviously we had to, deal with a lot of things on that day. And, that was what I was doing. But I played a big part in this process, and, bringing Raheem here or hiring him. So ultimately, yeah, that's probably what you'll hear. And, you take that as you will. But it's just, look, ultimately, the change in power structure, I think Terry Fontenot should finally be able to be a GM. So maybe, honestly, you really honestly think of this as, even though Terry Fontenot's been here, he's going to be up there tomorrow because this is finally his chance to be the GM, to be the lead guy in the football operations in Flowery Branch. And it not be Rich McKay. He gets to be the general manager. Now, let's hope that's actually the case and Arthur Blank doesn't, in the middle of the night, change it back around or, let Rich have great say over it. And he actually let Terry Fontenot do his job. So, but ultimately, listen, let's take their word. Well, let's see how it operates. Because Terry, without player personnel, has been, obviously done with free agency. I would say, for the most part, they've done pretty damn good in free agency. In every single draft, you have seen an improvement in all of the picks and the quality you're getting out of the picks. But overall, man, as I say, it's obviously going to be an exciting time tomorrow. We're all, awaiting the press conference. And I will be on here tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch it live, but I definitely will, catch the press conference on replay. And then I'll come on here sometime, probably around 5:36, talk about the press conference, what I liked about it, what I disliked about it. Let Terry do his thing. Exactly. Let Terry do his damn thing. Let Terry do his thing. Let Raheem do his thing. But let winning be number one. Let winning be number one. These are two guys that come from winning pedigrees, that have experience with winning pedigrees. Let them bring it here now. That's what I need. That's all I care about is winning. And I think these two guys definitely want to win, but actions speak louder than words. Let's give them a chance. Let's see what they can do. So obviously, tomorrow the press conference, and afterwards, I will go ahead and say that's going to lead me into the mock draft we're getting ready to do here in a minute. Tomorrow, I'm sure the question about the quarterback is going to pop up. At least once or twice, or maybe even more than that. And it's going to be very, I mean, obviously they're not going to give us anything. They're not going to, tell us straight up, well, we're going and, we're drafting. I mean, maybe they will, and that'll be nice to see, but, I'm sure they'll say little pieces in between to where, okay, you'll get a little bit of a clearer idea. Just get us warmed up. Just where do you want to be seated? Do you want to, where do you want to be seated? What field do you want? And then, what can I get you started with? What would you like to drink? And you know what? Maybe just give me a little taste of what the appetizer might be like. Listen, that's obviously, the drafts, still has a long way to go. Free agency still has a long way to go. And we will, after tomorrow, the on here, the big discussion will obviously be about the quarterback position, because that is the biggest question mark for the Falcons. Do we go and do we draft a quarterback? Do we go and pick a veteran up in free agency? Do we trade for a quarterback? Certain one. I think everyone knows who I'm talking about. Lots of discussion to be had. A lot of discussion to be had in that department. So definitely they're not going to give us everything tomorrow, but give us just a little snippet, and we'll roll from there. But anyways, let's go ahead. Let's get this thing pulled up here. Let's see. Which one do I want to use? Let's see. I'm feeling, do I want to use? Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and let's use the ESPN. Let's go ahead. Let's use this one. So obviously, we're picking here. Go normal speed here. Probably only do one tonight. So yeah, let's go ahead. Let's load our draft in. Let's see what the, oh shit, that's from my bad. A little bit of a technical difficulty there. That was last year, so that shit needs to update. So let's just go back to, our good old, let's find another one. That shit was from last year. I don't know what the, need to update that shit. ESPN needs to get on that bullshit. Update the fucking mock draft machine. Just go ahead. All right, well, let's go ahead and let's really get into it. 7 rounds. Probably only doing one here. Obviously, Falcons, All right, so let's go ahead and let's see how it falls. Yeah, this is fucking. Let's go ahead and restart this shit, actually, because ain't no fucking way shit's rolling like that. I ain't gonna. We'll give you another chance. That's what we'll do. We'll give you another chance. Shit, anything's possible, but hey, let's give you another chance. Drake May at number, Caleb at number 2, Marvin Harrison at number 3. This could be more like, I don't know. Kool-Aid goes at does Kool-Aid go at number 6? I don't know, man. Let's look at these trade offers. You see, I think reject that, even though that was a pretty strong one, I ain't gonna lie. All right. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer. I think that is absolutely no doubt a no-brainer. There's no doubt that is a no-brainer. You go with. And obviously, we're gonna have a lot of talk. Wow, damn! Carolina traded back into the first round. We're gonna have a lot of talk coming up about this quarterback, man. But Jaden Daniels, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. That is my number one guy. That I truly, honestly feel like the Falcons are gonna end up drafting Jaden Daniels. I'm gonna go ahead and say that. Man, Vlad McConkey, man out of Georgia went, ooh, you know what? I'm gonna have to take a look at this big board here and see where we're standing at. Didn't say we could never. Penix is still there. Obviously, we got our guy. Let's see. Where do we go at? Do we take Braylon Trice out of Washington? Because edge rusher's another one too. Jeremiah Trotter's there, which I would honestly probably say we're set at linebacker. Well, let's look at corner. Really no big name that pops out to me there. Man, Sweat from Texas is there. Ooh, I feel like it's defense. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like the move is defense here. Let's see what receivers are there on the board still? What receivers are there on the board still? I mean, man, let's where y'all picking at Cleveland? That's the big thing. And give up 141 for a second next year. So someone help me out in that. Someone help me out in this chat. Do I take this offer? I see someone watching. Help me out. Do I trade 43 and 141 for 54 and a 2025 second from Cleveland? Give y'all a minute because I need that's something to really think about. That's kind of an offer. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, 141 is a fifth round pick. So yeah, someone help me out with that, man. Do I go ahead and do I make that trade, or do I go ahead and, because I'm really feeling like I see someone saying wide receiver. I'm really honestly feeling like maybe I go ahead and I take the offer. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take the offer. Gonna see how this thing falls. See how this thing falls. They took Byron Murphy the second with the pick we gave them. Oh man, they took Braylon Trice right up from under my fucking nose. God damn it. All right, we ain't gonna let's just go ahead. Let's just reject these offers. Let me see. Do we go ahead and go ahead and, I mean, what receiver really sticks out to you guys? Now, my man Roman Wilson from Michigan. I'm gonna tell y'all, my man Roman Wilson from Michigan. And maybe that's where you go. I don't know. Obviously got to do a little bit more research into him. 6'1", or 6 foot, 6'1". He's somewhere around there. Do we take him, as a slot option? I don't know. That's something to really, I think about. 4.37 speed, put him in the slot, pair him with Jaden Daniels, or do you go and you get the big man in Sweat and pair him up with Onyemata, kind of, put him under on Onyemata, if you said. Let me go ahead and scroll up here. Go ahead, scroll up. I don't know, man. So someone help me out. Yeah, man, no, I mean, it's very hard to do this before free agency. You say go D-line. I don't know. I'm kind of – because the ultimate thing is, man, you can re-sign Scotty Miller. You can re-sign Scotty Miller. Heck, I know a lot of people might not like it. Van Jefferson could be back because of his experience. He's had in LA in that offense with Zach Robinson. So he could be back as well. Now you get a Sweat up in here. It obviously a big body you're putting there. A big boy up on that line. Obviously another Texas boy. So yeah. I mean, Taquan Graham you brought in here a couple years ago from Texas. Obviously, Bijan's a lone corner as well. So taking a look at it, let's look at taking a look at this report, man. Do you really honestly? Matter of fact, go ahead. Obviously, it's very hard. It is hard to do this. I don't know, man. I might just go ahead and take Sweat here because there's options you can go with that slot receiver. Even though I do feel like a wide receiver is going to be picked at some point this draft. I really hate that because if Larry McConkey was there, I was going to take him. I mean, I don't know, man. Do we? I mean, does this, really even, I think another thing you got to really look at is, does this obviously fit the defense? And, that's what, I think you really got to go ahead and kind of try to figure out. Obviously, you would probably put him under, the wing of a David Onyemata. And obviously, he is a raw talent. But you have to like what that upside could potentially be with him dominating that defense. He's another big body. So, I don't know. I'm really honestly feeling like take a look at some of these other guys here. I mean, because you also got to take into account, now this guy right here, that is true. You have that second. We've already taken that second. But dude, this guy right here, this really seems like the type of guy you bring along with Grady Jarrett, and that's kind of like, that's the guy you mentor as, Grady Jarrett's replacement. So I don't know. It's obviously, I like the size. I like, you love and you obviously, you kind of already have this in Zach Harrison. So to me, I'll just go ahead and take Sweat here. That's what I'm going to go ahead and end up doing here. Let me see. Penix went to the Raiders. Let's see. We also got to think about center, man. We have to think about that center position as well. Where do we want to go with center? Do we want to, maybe take a center here or not? That's something else to think about. It's kind of an intriguing offer, I'm not going to lie, but I mean, we've already made kind of enough. Even though we've kind of already made, enough trades. I feel like that, trade with Cleveland. I mean, if someone really need another corner, well, If Okudah goes, that is true. We could definitely. I mean, I think honestly, Roman Wilson is still there. Johnny Wilson is there. You really want to get cute and listen. Maybe John's out of here. You want to do that 2 tight end set here. I'm just taking a look at him for just this, and yeah, I really don't, honestly. That kind of, that feels like a poor man's Kyle Pitts, to be honest, with a little bit of better blocking ability. Yeah, you could definitely use safety as well. I don't know. We've gone offense, we've gone defense. Let's look at some of these corners. Let's see. We really kind of need some size at that corner position. That's really kind of, we really need some size there, with some of these corners. I don't know, man. I'm honestly really feeling like at this rate, you go ahead and you just take a look at Johnny for a minute. Now this dude right here, this could be. And if you read that kind of screams Puka Nacua. Reading that screams like Puka Nacua when you look at this Johnny Wilson out of Florida State. And I really feel like the Falcons are, I mean, you're talking like 6'6", 237. Now, I ain't gonna lie, that's kind of a little too big for my liking as a wide receiver. But that 6'6" frame, man, I can't lie. It really intrigues me. Go ahead. Let me go ahead and pull up a little bit more up about this boy, actually. Let me go ahead and, because, I mean, you pair you pair him with Drake London, man, that is some dangerous. But the only thing is that's a 4.6 40 time. That's, and so there's definitely, obviously you're looking for, I think, a big guy, and I think Elijah McConkey is more what you're looking for. But man, and number one, you got to keep in mind, the Falcons, they don't take Georgia players that often, so you have to keep that in mind as well. Let's go ahead and look at this. See, going ahead and looking at this, I mean, man, listen, it's very hard to pass up that's, and it's in the third round, man. Y'all have to keep that in mind. This is a third round pick, so it's not like it's anything. I mean, it's a Desmond Ridder pick. So, yeah, which Wilson do we go with? Roman or Johnny? Roman Wilson, you're looking for that slot guy, which obviously, they really like to utilize in that McVay offense. But they also really love their big guys, too. The only thing is you have to be able to work in space. And, obviously, I feel like, there's definitely going to be some limits with Johnny Wilson. But that's another guy you can put on the outside opposite of Drake London, and you get someone else. Here, I mean, listen, you can go and you can find a slot receiver in free agency. You can bring Scotty Miller back. The thing is, man, I mean, Arthur Smith really misutilize that slot position. So I'm really honestly you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and take Johnny here. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and take Johnny Wilson here. Because why the hell not? We got what? I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see. Spencer Rattler goes to the Arizona Cardinals. Jeremiah Trotter goes to Washington. Rowan Wilson goes to Carolina. I don't see him making it to the 4th round. Obviously, once the combine passes and free agency passes and all that, that's when you're going to have the good idea of what's really happening here this draft. All right. Let's go ahead. We're back on the clock here. I don't want to keep everyone hanging too much longer. I also don't even think we even had that extra pick from Jacksonville in there. But yeah, obviously there's still an early mock draft, man. Still an early mock draft. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, Scotty is a slot receiver. Arthur Smith misutilized that slot position. There's no denying it. So let's see, where do we go? I'm honestly feeling like you dip into that secondary here is what I'm feeling. You dip into that secondary and you kind of, I feel like you kind of go and you look for that guy that can have some size to him. That's what, you really, I feel like, need in this secondary. You need some size. Obviously, whoever they draft is going to have the benefit because the head coach, the assistant head coach, and the defensive coordinator, they're all safeties, DBs, you name it. So these DBs are going to come in here and they're going to be set up pretty well to succeed. So they're going to have a good eye for some of these DBs. We'll go ahead and look into this. Look into this Cam Hart guy. Because you have to think, man, Jeff Okudah could be. I don't really know if you're honestly bringing Okudah back. I think that's just kind of something you need to talk about. So, I'm honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and say we take this Cam Hart here out of Notre Dame. That's really what I feel like you do. You go ahead, take your man Cam Hart out of Notre Dame. And we're back on the clock here. Pick 114. Let's see. Where do we try to look for some depth, at that edge rusher position? Yeah, exactly. Terry, I mean, listen, Terry has been able to hit, with these later round draft picks, especially in these past 2 drafts. Obviously, Algier is one. DeMarco Hellams is one, that really looks like he could be a big hit. So that's another thing too, man. When you're talking about the safety position, keep DeMarco Hellams in mind when talking about it. And obviously we talk about you got 3 DB gurus here now. So ultimately you have to keep that in mind. They're going to have this Clark Phillips too. Clark Phillips is another one that showed great promise. So, yeah, I'm honestly maybe feeling you go O-line here. That's kind of what I'm feeling you go. I'm feeling you go O-line here. And, maybe is this? I mean, obviously, you're not finding a Jake Matthews replacement here, you know, in the third round. But I've actually, you do have to also keep in mind also the fact that these, centers, you're going to have to go and probably find a new center this offseason. And honestly, maybe you need to prioritize center more towards the top of your draft because, man, Drew dominated it. I'm telling you, Drew dominated it. Maybe go and look at, some of these, offensive tackles, because obviously still nonetheless for depth. I'm saying a little bit about some of these guys. I'm gonna go ahead and just take him. I'm seeing a little bit. I mean, it's probably nothing more just a depth pickup. I can maybe honestly see you go out and you pick up a guy in free agency as well to fill that center position, even though I really don't know who that would be. But you bring a guy like that in here, because ultimately, man, these later round picks, it's really even it's gonna, you have to look at it as we only have one more pick left in this draft as we traded away that pick to Cleveland to get the second next year. So we only have one pick left in this draft. I feel like you go back to that edge rusher spot, outside linebacker, and you take because Brendan Rice went to Kansas City. Could you fucking imagine that? Yeah, competition. That's exactly what it is. Competition. It looks like Raheem's on that breaking news. Got a little bit of breaking news here. I'm gonna pull it up in a minute. So we're done with this mock draft. Joe Milton goes to New England. So yeah. Let's see. All right. Back on the clock here for our final pick. I feel like this is kind of where you go and you look for a guy that, maybe can just be some depth at edge. Let me see. Let me go ahead and look at this guy. This is. I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy. I think I've seen a little bit, about him. Just just bring him in, see what he can be as like a depth piece or something. So we see this draft wrap up here. So yeah, that's all right. That is it. That is our mock draft. So take a look at it here. Here we go. This should be a good view. Full screen it here. So obviously we took Jane Daniels at number 8. We then went ahead, came back. We traded with Cleveland. We went ahead and we traded 43 and 141 with Cleveland. We got back their second this year and a second next year. And we took T'Vondre Sweat from Texas. We took Johnny Wilson from Florida State in the third round. We took Cam Hart out of Notre Dame in the fourth round with 109. We took Will Putnam out of Clemson at 114. And then Marshawn Nealon out of Western Michigan with 198. So, yeah, that is, yeah, man. No, I mean, I think it's a pretty good mock draft. Obviously, not gonna, obviously, granting my own mock drafts, maybe doesn't, make all the sense in the world. Y'all. I mean, listen, we're still we haven't Super Bowl is next Sunday, so after the Super Bowl, that's when the full draft order is officially set. And then you're gonna go ahead and you'll be able to, look forward to the combine. And then we watch how some of these guys do at the combine. Obviously, you're gonna have some guys, that blow scout these scouts, these GMs, these coaches away. You're gonna have some guys who go out, underwhelming performances and drop a little bit. So before I go ahead and pull this up here really quickly. Yeah, things are definitely heating up. Definitely heating up, man. And you love to see it too. It's, it's getting to that point again. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. Share my screen. I'll get out of here after that. So breaking news, a little bit of breaking news at least. We obviously know it was happening. He's on that plane, man. He is getting ready to land in the A. There he is with his family, obviously. Getting on that plane, man. So, yeah, man. Let me play.
But being in Atlanta, it's for sure. Atlanta.
Let me play this video real quick, actually, for you. Turn the audio up. All right, there we go. So, here we go.
Being back in Atlanta is so special to me because not many times in the National Football League do you get a chance to go back home. And not many places can you call home. But being in Atlanta is for sure that. For the people, for the owner, for the city, just all of the above. So excited to be back in Atlanta because of the people. It's home. It's what we're about. And I can't wait to get back to see everybody.
Well, there you have it. He's already said he's happy to be back in Atlanta. He's already said, the stuff he'll probably say again, when they open that press conference tomorrow. There he is, man. Beautiful family he has on the plane. So, yeah. No, I mean, tomorrow we're going to hear from him. We're going to see what he's all about. We're going to see how he feels, how he wants to construct this team. And then we're going to go from there. And we're going to see how it turns out. Well, yeah, obviously, you know whose plane that is. You know, flying in luxury. We all know whose plane that was. So, anyways, man, I'll be back here tomorrow. I'll be back here tomorrow talking about the press conference. What he says, how I feel about it. Then we'll go from there, man. So, yeah. Exciting times. Welcome once again. Welcome, Ra. We're glad to have you here, and we know you're happy to be here. and you're coming here to win. That is, I'm not going live for the press conference. I got some stuff to do, or I might not even catch it live, but I'll definitely catch it on replay, and I'll be back on probably about 5:36 tomorrow. So obviously, I'll come, chill with me for that. I'll talk about everything I liked about the press conference. Maybe some things I didn't like so much, but ultimately, man, welcome back to the A coach. And we want to win. That is the big message. We want to win. We're going to give you the chance to win. And listen, I have no doubt that he can do that. Raheem can do that. Raheem can, be that locker room builder, but he can also be that culture builder. And the culture we need built is a winning culture in Atlanta, one that can potentially lead to some championships. But with that being said, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Appreciate everyone for stopping by. Enjoyed running the mock draft. We'll definitely be running more. And with that being said, I will see you all tomorrow.